Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. Welcome to another video. If you're new to the channel, please hit that subscribe button. It is super helpful. I love me some Atari 5200. Now you guys know I love the ColecoVision, and then I got one for Christmas in '82, but I didn't get my 5200 until late in the 1980s. A friend of mine named Russ gave me his complete system with about 15 boxed games, the trackball controller, and even a couple of different Wico joysticks. Incredible. Plus it had the original controllers. Just amazing. This full Atari 5200 setup in the late 80s. As a video game collector, as a retro gaming collector, I was completely blown away and so excited. And I still play that very same Atari 5200 a lot to this day. And here are 5 games that I still play a lot and that I absolutely love. And I think you should play too if you get access to the 5200, or just emulate these games or whatever, however you want to do it. I love me some Atari 5200, and there are some unique games for the system, unique versions anyway, that I love, and that we will get to right away. All right guys, like I said, we're gonna get right to it. Number 5, Mega Mania. Now this box is beguiling because look at this. It's actually right set up this way. But anyway, this is an incredible port of the Atari 2600 game. Activision did a great job porting this because they actually made the graphics quite a bit better. Now, a lot of Activision games that were translated from the 2600 to the 5200 or to the ColecoVision, they don't make a lot of significant improvements. They're roughly a similar game and look similar, but Mega Mania actually has considerably better graphics because you can tell what the items are. Now, it's a Space Invaders or Galaga type shooter where you're moving along at the bottom of the screen, shooting upward at enemies, but in this case, they're sort of commonplace objects or household objects or food items or whatever. Things like cookies and hamburgers and diamond rings and bow ties. Well, in the 5200 version, you can actually immediately tell what these items are. Unlike a lot of them in the 2600 version where they're sort of impressionistic versions of these objects. Anyway, that makes a difference in this game. I like the graphics better. The gameplay is fantastic. It's challenging without being frustrating. It's got a great the challenge amps up, but not too quickly, so you can play it for a while. I love me some Mega Mania for the 5200, and I definitely like it better than the 2600 version. They're both great, so if you get a chance to play either one of them, go for it. Next up at number 4, Centipede. I still play this game a lot because the Atari 5200 port is excellent. Now, the arcade version is my wife's favorite arcade game of all time, so I've spent quite a bit of time playing that one. And she likes the ColecoVision version, so we play that from time to time. And early in our relationship, we played that one quite a bit. But when I'm flying solo, I love the 5200 version. The trackball is amazing. It's arcade-like. And it's even better than the roller controller on the ColecoVision. Now, when I was a teenager and, you know, ColecoVision versus Atari and all that, I was team ColecoVision, even though I loved Atari too. But Coleco could do no wrong. And make no mistake, the roller controller is a good trackball, but the Atari 5200 one is more arcade-like. It's a better trackball, and it works beautifully for Centipede. It helps make it an amazing port. Now, is it a perfect port? No. The spider, you know, the spider enemy that bounces around and that you get more points when it's right on top of you, it's monochromatic in the 5200 version. Well, who cares? It's still amazing arcade translation anyway. That's just nitpicking because it's fantastic. It's still fun. It's challenging. It's exciting. It's action-packed. It's fast and fun. Next up at number 3 is Berserk. Now check out the box for this one, guys. And this is the box I got from my friend Russ. This is one of the box games that he had given me. Check this out. I believe this was a Toys R Us thing when they were out of the box. Maybe they just had the display copy and the manual. You would get this crazy box that they would just write in the title and system on it. And if I recall correctly, they might have given you, well, I don't recall, they might have given you a 10 or 20% discount, or they might have just sold you at full price. I don't recall. But anyway, sometimes if they were out of box, you know, down to that last copy and they didn't have the box for some reason, maybe they cut it up to put it in something or whatever reason, you would get this. Not as cool as having the original box, but back then we didn't care that much. At least, you know, if you wanted the game, you got the game. And if that's all they had, you might likely get it because you didn't want to wait, or maybe your parents wouldn't take you to another store, or whatever the case may be. Now, I love this version of Berserk over the 2600 version because it does have the arcade voice effects that are so famous in the arcade. And Berserk was not ported to the ColecoVision. Now the ColecoVision got Frenzy, the sequel to Berserk, and it's an amazing port as well. But I love me some Berserk. It's super simple. As a humanoid, you just walk from maze to maze, you know, non-scrolling maze to non-scrolling maze. There's a bunch of play fields. You just shoot robots, and from time to time, Evil Otto will come out. If you stay in a room too long, he'll bounce out there and get you a great villain. One of the best villains in early 80s gaming. And yeah, Berserk, you can't go wrong with that on the 5200. It's super, super fun. Next up at number 2 is an absolutely indispensable game for the 5200 is Space Invaders. Why Space Invaders? There are so many different versions of Space Invaders. Game Boy, Super Nintendo, the arcade version, and on and on and on. They made it for the PlayStation. There's a bunch of different kinds of Space Invaders. Space Invaders has been ported very accurately to different systems like the Game Boy, like the Super Nintendo. There's a split screen version on the Super Nintendo, but the 5200 version is unique among them all. It's different than any other version of Space Invaders. It's faster, more twitch-based. The arcade version of Space Invaders is sort of slower and relies more on your accurate aiming, but Space Invaders is just faster. It has a more speedy feel to it, and it's more twitch-based, it seems like, to me, when I play it. It just seems more hectic. There are variations that you won't find in the arcade version, but there aren't as many as the 2600 version, which I believe boasted 112. There aren't nearly that many, but there still are enough to make it interesting. The alien invaders are colorful and animated. They look different than the 2600 version or the arcade version or any others. And you can actually play Space Invaders on the 5200 with the trackball controller for speedy and for, you know, just real precise gameplay. Love it. Space Invaders, it's a different experience than any other version of Space Invaders. I highly recommend it. If you've never tried it because, oh no, not another Space Invaders, you've got to check it out. It's absolutely great. Number 1 on my list of Atari 5200 games I still play a lot, a heck of a lot, is Pingo. I love this game. It's an incredible port of the arcade classic. It's cute, it's fun, it's colorful. You just simply walk around the screen kicking frozen blocks. But like Mr. Do, it's simple, it's cute, but it is super strategy filled. There's a bunch of different ways to score points and clear the board. I highly recommend Pingo if you've never played it before. The 2600 version is pretty good too. Pingo was not ported to the ColecoVision, and several games on this list aren't available at all on ColecoVision, like Mega Mania, Berserk, Space Invaders, and Pingo. 4 of the 5 weren't ported to the ColecoVision back in the day. Homebrewers are remedying some of this. They're making new games for the ColecoVision that weren't ported back in the day, but 4 of the 5 of these were not on the ColecoVision back in the day. That's one reason I have a fondness for these games on the 5200, because they weren't available on my beloved ColecoVision. And I do love me some 5200. Let me know in the comments if you want me to talk about 5 more Atari 5200 games. I still play a lot. For those of you who don't know, the 5200 is the follow-up to the Atari 2600. It's a really good system, and it was followed by the 7800, which I also love. Anyway, let me know in the comments, what are some Atari 5200 games that you still play? I would love to hear from you guys. We will talk to you in another video. Thanks for liking and subscribing, and just thanks for being you.